Hello YouTube! This is my first ever video posting, so forgive me if I start to rant and ramble a little bit. This is also my very first book haul. I've been watching a lot of booktubers and a lot of booktube videos, and they've kind of gotten me into this, they've kind of inspired me to get out there more and share a little bit of what I like to read, just like they like to share what they like to read. So for this video, I'm going to show you guys what I've hauled in just the last couple of weeks from, I've got a few from our library, and I've got more than a few from one of the thrift bookstores in Nashville that we discovered a couple weeks ago when my husband and I went to Middle Tennessee Anime Convention. So I'm going to get this going because it's a lot of books. So anyways, just to get this started, the first ones I'm going to do are the standalone or first in a series. So the first one I have is War of Souls Volume 1, Dragons of the Fallen Sun. It is one of the first in a Dragonlance trilogy, and I know there's more books than this for the Dragonlance books. I know this isn't the first trilogy or the first set of books that I probably should read, but I picked this one up just to give it a try, and if I really like it and really get into these Dragonlance books, I will get more of the prior ones and probably more later ones too. Don't really know what it's about. I just picked these up. Most of these I picked up because they looked really cool or the title spoke to me, and usually when I do that, my instincts are right, so forgive me for not having synopses of all of these for you. Most of these I picked up on impulse, and usually when I pick them up on impulse, I like them. So, moving on. The second one I have is called Dragon Weather by Lawrence Watt Evans. Again, picked it up because of the cover. It's got a dragon on it. I like dragons. So, yeah. Anyways, this is the first in the Obsidian trilogy, and I made sure it was the first book because I do that a lot to myself, where I find a book and then I find out it's not the first in the series, and it just kind of goes downhill from there because I get really sad and then I have to put it back. But anyways, this is the first book in the Obsidian Chronicles. Eventually I will get to it and let you guys know how I like that. And then this one is The Ring of Five Dragons by Eric von Lustbader. It is the first book in the Pearl Saga. Again, the cover spoke to me. The title sounded really cool. The title sounded really neat, and the cover spoke to me. It was at McKay's, and it was really cheap. A lot of these are from McKay's, and they're really cheap books. I like that. So, again, no synopsis. The title and the cover spoke to me. Next is one that I got from the library, or three that I got from the library. Our county library, does this thing where if they have donated paperbacks that either are too old to be in their catalog or they have too many copies of already, they put them on these little spindles, and you can go through and you can pick them out and take them home for free. So I looked through them the other day and I found a few that piqued my curiosity. The first one is It Wakes in Me by Kathleen O'Neill Geer, and I did it to myself. I picked this one up and didn't look it up before I took it home, and it is the second book in the Wakes in Me trilogy, or In Me trilogy. So eventually I will get the first and third book and read these. These are fairly short, so eventually I will get around to reading these. The magic system, or it's not a fantasy, it's a historical fiction, and the belief system kind of piqued my interest on this. It says, according to the tradition of the Black Falcon people, each person has 3 souls. The eye soul, which stays with the body forever, the shadow soul, where all evil is leached and is shed at death, and the reflection soul, where the spirit lives on among the blessed ancestors in the land of the dead, pure and clean. On rare occasions, a shadow soul can take over a stranger's body and commit heinous crimes. That's just the first part of the little summary on the back. I'm not going to read the rest because I don't want to take the chance to spoil anything from the first one. So that's that one. The next one I saw and I was like, I have to have it. because my husband and I are really big fans of Stephen King, and we don't have this one, and it is Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. It is so pretty, and I was really surprised to see this on the free book thing, because it is like almost brand spanking new. No folds in the side, no folds in the spine, no tears in the pages or bends in the cover. So it's just really, it looks really pretty for it to be free. That was awesome. And I have this on audiobook also on my laptop. And eventually, again, it's one of those that I will eventually get to, but don't know when. I kind of already have an April TBR thing going, so I'll get into that a little bit later when I get to the books that I picked up for that. Next one I picked up is People of the Wolf. It is another historical fiction about the very, very, very early Native Americans' migration across the frozen tundra and into their new home. I'm assuming it's here. I don't know. I haven't read the book yet. But the leader of this group gets visions that they need to move and where they need to move to. And then his wife helps convince all of the people in their group or their tribe to move with him. And that's basically how this migration starts. And this is the story of the migration across the ice caps and into their new home. If you heard the Yoshi, please forgive that. That is my notification tone and I forgot to turn it off. Next one, I'm ashamed to say I didn't have it sooner because we have the Lord of the Rings. I have the really pretty gray leather-bound Barnes & Noble Lord of the Rings. I should have gotten it off the shelf so I could show you guys. But we didn't have this for a long time, and I saw a bunch of copies of it at McKay's, and I thought, why don't I get one of those? So I picked up The Hobbit because we didn't have The Hobbit, and we had the Lord of the Rings, and I wanted The Hobbit. I have The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings audiobooks also. Again, I have listened to The Hobbit. I want to again, and I want to read Lord of the Rings again because they are just so good, and they're a staple. They are a fantasy staple. Everybody should read Lord of the Rings. At least once. At least try it. If you don't like it, I'm not going to tell you to keep going with it because there's no point in slogging through a book you don't like. But at least try it once in your life. Everybody, every fantasy fan, should try Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit at least one time in their life. Next is one that I've heard a lot about from everybody on BookTube that I've been watching. It is J.B. Jones, A Cavern of Black Ice. I have heard many, many, many rave reviews about this book. Kitty G is one of the ones that I follow and I'm subscribed to on YouTube, and I looked up her review for this book and she said it was just amazing, and she gave it 5 stars because it was just so good and it sucks you in and it keeps you sucked in, and it's just an amazing book. So I picked up this is the first book in the Sword of Shadow series, so I'm gonna read this one eventually, and see where it goes. And if I really, really, really like it, I'll probably end up looking on thrift books for the rest of the series because I looked at McKay's and they didn't have them this time, but they get new stuff all the time, so they may have them eventually. So, again, another one I've heard about on BookTube a lot, and more of what I hear about from him is his Rieria Chronicles and Rieria Revelations. It is Michael J. Sullivan's Age of Myth, and don't know if you can read that, but it says a signed copy. I didn't see this until I actually, picked it up, put it in my basket, and was going back through my basket. It says signed copy. It is an actual signed copy. I am so excited. I am so excited I found this. Look at this. Wasn't intending on getting a signed copy, and I have a signed copy, so yay! And it is like brand spanking new looking, and it is pretty, and I thought this would be a good place to start with Michael J. Sullivan because I've seen his Rieria books and they are massive. To me, they look like they're massive. Maybe it's because I saw the bind-up of the first 2 Rieria Chronicles books. I don't know, but they looked massive. So that's not really where I wanted to start. So I'm going to start with this one because it's kind of tiny compared to a lot of fantasy. So I'm just going to start with this because it's little. Eventually I'll get to it. So a lot of these are going to be eventually I will get to. So probably within the next, hopefully within the next, 3 or 4 months. Depends on if we have to move or not. Again, another one that I've heard quite a few reviews on from booktubers and different YouTubers that review books that I watch is Inda by Sherwood Smith. I've heard better things about the first book, Inda, than I have about the second book in the series. Don't quite remember what the second book is called, but I'm going to start with this, and I'm going to see if I like it, and then I will go to the second book maybe, and we will see what happens with that one. Next, again, a lot of these that I picked up were on this trip. I just got back from a trip to McKay's. And a lot of these I picked up were because I've been hearing about them on BookTube all the time. And please forgive the stitch. That is my mother texting me. Anyways, this one is not as long as I thought it was going to be. I thought this one was going to be pretty massive, but it actually turned out to be a lot shorter than I was expecting it to be. Is Prince of Thorns. I've heard that this one is dark. I've heard that the main character is absolutely cruel, and I've heard that if you like dark fantasy, then this is definitely one for you. And I do like dark, I do like fantasy, so we'll give it a shot and see where it goes. This is the first book in the Broken Empire, and I don't know if there are any more books of this series out yet or not. When was this one published? Let's see. This one was published first in 2011. So there might be more of the series out. I don't know yet. I haven't looked. I'm going to start here and go from there. Eventually I will get around to reading all of these. I do want to get into review videos eventually after this and see how this goes before I do any review videos. This last single book that I got, I've read it before and I loved it, and I wanted a copy, and we don't have a copy, and I saw this cover. I've never seen this cover for this book before, and I had to get it because it was just absolutely awesome. It is Stephen King's It. Look at this cover. It is awesome. Look at it. It's Pennywise, and he's coming for you. I loved this book. I've listened to it on audiobook, and I watched the new movie, and it was amazing, and I can't wait for part 2. And I think I'm going to reread this before part 2 comes out this year. And I'm so excited for part 2 because Chris Pratt's going to be in part 2. He's one of my guilty pleasure actors. I love him. He's so cute. Okay, so moving on to the series books. These next two are by Jennifer Fallon, and they are part of the Hythrun Chronicles. I hope I'm saying that right. The first one is not the first book in the Hythrun Chronicles chronologically or in publication order, but I was reading another I was watching another channel, and she said that this was like a prequel trilogy to the trilogy that comes first in the series. Excuse me. Throat's a little dry. I was practicing in the car on my way home. Anyways, this is Wolfblade. It is the first in the Wolfblade trilogy, which is a prequel trilogy, even though it comes afterwards in publication, to excuse me, the Demon Child trilogy. The first book of this is Medallon? I hope I'm saying that right. So I want to read the Wolfblade series first and then get into Demon Child. If you think that I should read it the other way because I'm going to get spoiled for things in this series by reading this one first, leave me alone. I'm going to read it how I want to read it. Bam. Excuse me. The next one, again, the covers spoke to me, and it looked really cool, and then I heard about it from another YouTuber that had the first book on his shelf, and it's on the cover it says the World at War series. If you look it up on Goodreads, it's the Darkness series by Harry Turtledove, and the first one is Into Darkness, and the second one is Darkness Descending. Now, I said I heard about this from another, or I saw the first one, picked it up because the cover and the title spoke to me, and then I picked up the second one because in between getting these two, I heard about them on another YouTuber's channel in one of his, I believe it was his bookshelf tour, and he basically said that this series is World War II with dragons, and I'm down. I am totally down. Anything with dragons, I'm down. I love dragons. Can't get enough dragons. Dragons are awesome. Dragons are fire-breathing, and they are really, really cool. Like, oh my gosh. And these covers are so freaking pretty. They're shiny. They're shiny, and they're so freaking pretty. I know this one's a little bit more beat up than this one, but it's a used paperback. I can live with a little beat up. Next is a series that I have finished on audiobook, and I loved it so much. I want physical copies of the books. I've found about 5 of them, and you're gonna know this as soon as I say it, because everybody talks about this series that has read it, and everybody I feel like that has read this series should love it because it is so damn good. It is the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. And again, I audiobooked the series before I got the physical copies, so I felt like that helped out a little bit. I know a lot of people say that that series can get confusing because there's so many POVs and people's names change, and it's just so long. It is 14 books if you don't count the prequel book. I count the prequel book, so in my mind it's 15 books long. I loved this series. I can't get enough of this series. I will reread the series again. I'm going to try to get my husband into this series because I feel like he'd really like it too. So, anyways, I'll maybe make another video gushing about that series later. We'll see. Maybe after I reread it. So far, I've found 5 of the books. I have found book number 2, which is The Great Hunt, and I love these covers. I love this cover art. I've heard somebody say they hate the cover art because it just looks absolutely horrible, but I love this cover art. It's so pretty. It's original. I like it. So anyways, I found The Great Hunt, and that one was from the library. I got that one for free from the library, and I was so excited when I saw it. Then the rest of these I got from McKay's. I got a Crown of Swords, which is book 7, and Path of Daggers, which is book 8. There's a little bit of glare. It's because the window's over there. That was a sticker that I'm still trying to get off, but I may just leave alone because it kind of started peeling off the cover a little bit, and that made me a little sad. So anyways, and then I got book 9, which is Winter's Heart, and I got book 10, Crossroads of Twilight. So still looking for the rest of the books. Hopefully I can find them. If not, I will be visiting Thrift Book very soon to find the rest of these and slowly accumulating the rest of these. And the final pile that I picked up, this first one was another one that I picked up on our first trip to McKay's, and again, the cover spoke to me, and you're going to see why here in a second, because it reminded me a lot of the Wheel of Time series in the art style that the cover is done in, and it is the Rune Lords by David Farland. Look at that art. It is so pretty. It is so beautiful. Anyways, I picked this up, and I had about 5 books to pick from that first time, and my husband and I ended up going to a park and sitting around Centennial Park in Nashville for a little while before we ate dinner, and I picked this up, and I started reading it, and I couldn't stop. I have been reading this book for a week and 2 days, and I have like 60 pages left. I think this is the fastest I've ever gotten through a book in my life. Love this book. I'm getting so sucked into this series, and hopefully within the next couple of days, hopefully maybe by the end of the week, I can have a review video for you guys for this book. I will try really, really hard not to spoil anything because I'm just so excited about finishing this book because I love this book. It is so freaking good. People need to read this. People really need to read this. If you liked Wheel of Time, you need to pick this up. I cannot emphasize enough. Okay, so Then I picked up, today, I picked up the second book in the Rune Lords, which is Brotherhood of the Wolf. Again, really pretty cover. I like the really pretty covers. And the third book, Wizard Worn. I think that big thing right here is what is called a Frouth giant. I hope I'm saying these things right, because that's how it reads in the book, and that's how it sounds in my head when I read it in the book. So I think that is a Frouth giant. I'm not entirely sure, but that kind of fits the description that they gave when I started reading the first book. And then the very last book in this book haul, and the very last book that I could find in the Rune Lords series, because there's 9 books, and I'm really excited to finish them, is The Layer of Bones, which is book 4. And again, the cover's really pretty. I love these kinds of covers. These kinds of covers speak to me. They say, read me. Read me, Jessica. Read me. Please read me. If you're gonna love me, read me. Anyways, sorry I can't give a whole lot of synopses on these books. Again, a lot of times with these books, the covers spoke to me, the titles spoke to me, and usually when I go with my gut, it's a pretty good pick for me. So anyways, that finishes my very first video and my very first book haul. Let me know what you like, give it a thumbs up and a comment down below, so that way you can maybe give me some tips on what to do better. I would like to improve the quality of my videos for you guys, so that way you guys are more willing to watch me. And so that way I feel a little bit more comfortable about making more videos in the future. Thanks a bunch!